transcendent. I love it because I've known and I've always known that this experience of being in a body, in the conscious, individualistic mind, and remember I've taken loads of acid when I was a kid as well, I know that this is not all of it. This is just, we're just reading one bandwidth of data with our sensory instruments, that there is limitless consciousness and limitless reality.
Do you miss that acid experience?
Yes, I do. I love it. I love it.
Is the concern that if you fell into it, like whether it was mushrooms or whatever it was, that if you fell into that experience again, that it would lead you in a downward spiral of addiction?
In a sense, it's that. In a sense, it's that. And the fact is as well that I've turned my life round, or my life has been turned around by this program, by this system, and like, you know, the 12-step thing, it does have something in it that's quite, what do I want to say, like it's a little bit ascetic. It is a little, you think like it's about denial, right? But the reason that I've written this book was the interpretation of 12 steps, excuse me, is because I think it's a masterpiece. I think it's a masterpiece at a time when people are struggling with ideologies, at a time when people are struggling with religion because the bad things about religion are so obvious, the bigotry and the violence, those things are so clear to us, even though there are many, many beautiful things about Islam and many beautiful things about Christianity. Our focus tends to turn on the bigotry and the hatred that is present or used out of those ideologies. The 12 steps is accessible to anybody and can be used as a code to unravel your connection to your own individual experience, your own self-centeredness, your own self-obsession. Now, this might not be a problem that you have. This might be the line that separates us. Me, I'm self-obsessed, and I have to, firstly, like, this is how it works. One, you admit there's something you want to change, and like that could be, I'm a smackhead, pretty obvious then, or you're a sex addict, and that's a harder thing to admit because it can be rewarding if you're into adult human females in a culture like I was. But if it ultimately leaves you lonely and unable to have a family, and you feel like you're having a negative emotional effect on others and yourself, then you need to admit it's a problem. The second thing is, could your life be better? And of course it could. And the third thing is being willing to accept help from others, and whether that's a community or from your understanding of a higher power. Now, I happen to have, I believe in God, in the sense that I believe that there's limitless consciousness, that my individual consciousness is connected to something that I can't understand, that no one can ever understand. And again, as I've heard on one of my own podcasts, as a matter of fact, Yanis Varoufakis, who led this political movement in Greece, he said, we will never know whether consciousness preceded matter or matter preceded consciousness. And in a way, it's irrelevant now, because spirit, this quality, is here. It's here, and it's a big part of what human beings are. And it isn't dealt with by consumerism, and it isn't dealt with by contemporary politics. People don't talk about love, kindness, togetherness, but these are the dominant things in our lives. That's what's most important to me, the people that I love. Like you said, the connections with the people you have that become your reality. But a political system that reduces you to a component of an economic machine is never going to fulfill you. So what I now believe is that what I think this book can do is give people a guide to reaching their own spiritual truth, because it's completely non-prescriptive. It's like your version of God is going to be different from mine. Your personal inventory that you draw up will reveal the truths of the way you see the world and the problems you've made. The communities that you belong to will support you, and you can change your patterns, you can make amends for your past, you can continue to stay present. And a vital part of this program is prayer and meditation, continual connection to the moment, so you don't lose yourself in your past or the projections of your future. Now, whether or not that prohibits me from experimenting with psychedelics in the long term, you know, for me the jury's out, because I do want to. And Bill Wilson, the guy who founded these fellowships, was fascinated by acid, and subsequently, like, even when he was sober, took a lot of acid. And I think that guy was a prophet. He was on a mission. He was trying to discover what is truth, what is reality.
That's not really discussed much in the 12-step program, though, is it?
Because I think it's like most things, it becomes orthodox. You know, like most religions, most systems, in the end, they become orthodox. And it does such a good job at helping with its primary purpose of stopping people being alcoholics, stopping people being drug addicts. That's such an amazing job, and it's doing that job, and it should continue to do that job. What I feel like I wanted to do is extract the thing that I think is amazing about it and say, oh my God, anyone could use this. You hear this again and again from people that have got long time clean in these programs. Everyone should work this program. Everyone should know what is the impact because your mum treated you that way, or your dad did this, or this sort of shit happened to you at school, or you were abused. You're still carrying it in your consciousness. We touched on it a moment ago, Joe. If you're, like I say this, you don't choose between having a program and not having a program. You choose between having a conscious program and an unconscious program. If you're not working a conscious program, you are being worked by your unconscious program. This is what I do if a man makes me feel intimidated. This is what I do if a woman makes me feel like I'm important. This is what I do if I have a bad day. Program, program, program. The program of your class, the program of your school, your family, your culture, your time. And this 12-step system can debug you from it. And it's not anybody else telling you what to do, because it's your own version of a higher power. It's your own version of a truth, except it's guided by the idea, become free, connect to who you really are, and become benevolent and loving to others.
You know what I think is really important that you said earlier about there's no political system or no politicians that are talking about love and values and caring and a sense of community. I think that's the solution to what we're fearing about Brexit and Donald Trump and the rise of, you know, just this turning of the apple cart, this thing that people are seeing right now that they don't like, and the hateful rhetoric that people are most disturbed about, particularly with Brexit, right? That's like the big thing that people are really disturbed about, is that it was fueled by this fear of the other.
Yes,
right?
That's right.
But isn't it possible that if people decide that didn't work out, whether it's Brexit or Trump, that the response to that would be the rise of this ideology, the rise of someone who's going to talk about love and community, someone who's going to be genuine? I mean, we don't have that person now, but it doesn't mean that person can't exist. And we've only had 45 different presidents. We haven't had every single version of what's possible for a human being to be interfacing with the entire civilization of the United States of America.
I think it's pretty clear what that system delivers. I think that those power systems are evolving in this direction. I think that this is, if not the pinnacle, I think it's possible that there are better versions of a president, but I think that systems that are that centralised will always deliver inequality. I think it's impossible for them not to, and I think that they should be evolved, altered, devolved, in a sense, broken down. Yeah. But I do agree. One of the things that I think is positive about cataclysm in politics, something like Brexit, like when Brexit happened and when Trump happened, I felt this sort of, I'm a trickster, I'm a comic, I live in mischief, I live in the madness that's just behind reality. And I thought, in a way, this is good, not for the, I know like people's lives would be negatively affected when we've seen the rise of divisive politics and like, sort of quite old-fashioned ideas about sort of ethno-nationalism and that kind of stuff. But the good thing is, precisely as you say, Joe, that it does open the conversation up for someone to say, oh, hold on a minute, I think we've just left out love, kindness, unity, togetherness. Like these things perhaps people will be open to. Whereas I think if we'd stayed in the European Union, if we'd had Hillary Clinton as president, it's a bit more business as usual. We're not we're not staring into the face of madness. We're not forced to address things that are going wrong.
I talked to my friend Sturgill. Do you know Sturgill Simpson, the musician? He is a brilliant musician, and he sent me this text message of a conversation that he had with Dr. Rick Strassman. Dr. Rick Strassman is the guy at the University of New Mexico who ran those clinical tests on DMT. He wrote the book, DMT, the Spirit Molecule. But he was quoting, when he was talking about the times that we live in and how fucked up everything is, he was quoting this, I forget, I think it was a monk who said this, that we are constantly in a fight between 49.9% and 50.1% good and evil, and that they fluctuate back and forth, and that we feel like we are just like a speck of dust, because we are both a speck of dust and the most important thing in the world, because the actions of one individual literally can influence the course of the human race, the course of our civilization. And that this period of flux is what creates growth and change. And that the tipping of the apple cart, and the positive thing about having someone like Donald Trump, and I don't like Donald Trump more than I like Hillary Clinton. I didn't like either one of them. And what Hillary Clinton represented to me was this lifelong politician who didn't support gay marriage until 2013. What she was to me, what she represented to me, was an obvious magician. Someone who I could see them pulling the cards out of their sleeve, and I'm supposed to not pay attention. It's bullshit, right? Yeah. And what he represents is the ego, unfettered and flaring out with crazy hair and a fat belly and little hands and the whole deal. It's just this chaos ego, putting his name on buildings, and that we're realizing that both of these are terrible options, and that this system is a terrible system. when we have what's essentially a popularity contest to see who controls nuclear weapons. It's insane. It's literally insane. And that the only way this is going to change is by having this incredibly upsetting moment for everybody where they're looking around going, what the fuck is going on? And then new ideas get introduced. And I don't know what those new ideas are going to be, or who's going to introduce them, or how someone is going to come along within the next 3 years and challenge this current system in a way that's appealing not just to the right and to the left, but maybe in some way to just human beings. Maybe in some way to human beings they realize, like, we're not going to get by in this world by enforcing right-wing politics and ideas and this sort of ideology, or left-wing ideas and politics ideology, but freedom and love and community, and to be free to practice your own level of conservatism on your own. But the idea that I don't want any gays and I have a little tribe where no gays are allowed, that seems to me to be counterproductive, and that seems to me to be counter-revolutionary. You know, all of that idea, there's any suppressing of people's individual right to express themselves.
Sure, I agree with almost everything you said there, and I've got since I've been involved in academia, do you know one of the main changes? I make notes. Notes now. I never would have dreamt of that when I was a younger man. So near the beginning, you talked about this idea, the percentile of good and evil, the good and evil of both of us. Now, there's a great quote by the Russian author Solzhenitsyn: "The line between good and evil runs not between creeds, religions, and empires, but through every human heart." It's a nice quote for that, isn't it? Now, and here's a personal theory that the reason that idolatry is bad, like that it comes, like, most religions say don't worship individuals, is precisely because they understand that. Don't make one individual have too much power. Even now, historically, we know that Gandhi had skeletons in the closet. Great Gandhi, this wonderful, great hero of bringing down the British Empire, bringing about freedom, Although, interestingly, Gandhi said, there's no point us kicking the British out of India and then replicating their systems. This is a country of 70,000 villages. These 70,000 villages should be autonomous, run on their own craft economies, trade with one another, only in excess. So, like, he was trying to get, like, important ideas out there. But, like your great civil rights leaders, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, these are men that had flaws. Malcolm X did prison time for unusual shit. Dr. King, extramarital stuff. People are not perfect. They're great heroes. They're pioneers.
All people are people.
So we have to change this. What I think is that we can't have a popularity contest to decide who's in charge of nuclear weapons. These kind of systems need to be devolved because it's mental. We know that. I agree with your analysis of Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump entirely. I think that the reason that you have a mad option like Donald Trump being successful is because people had had enough of those cheap tricks and cards up sleeves and financial corruption. So the apple cart's going over. Chaos too, I agree, is an important part of evolution. We rest on chaos. These patterns that we observe are just temporary. Osho, the sort of cult leader and sort of poetic figure and leader, said, we talk about civilization as if it's this great thing. What is civilization? A clearing in the forest. For a moment we create our cities and the forest closes in and has it again. Where all these ancient civilizations that Graham Hancock talks about so lucidly, where are they now? Where are they
swallowed up by the Amazon?
And I had this great quote in Herman Melville's Moby Dick that says, Noah's flood is still happening. The majority of the earth is still flooded in water. We are connected to these events. We are out there in that chaos. So I suppose, gosh, what I'm trying to say here, Joe, is that when we recognise that we're all flawed, that we're all fallible, we have to sort of think, how can we build systems that tend towards the better aspects of our nature, not the worst aspects of our nature? Can we recognise that any politician in a position of power for too long will make mistakes, will be flawed, that power has to be spread out as much as possible and as close to the people that it affects as is feasible?
Yeah, there's always going to be an issue with someone being able to acquire $100 billion, like the Amazon Jeff Bezos guy. Like that is going to corrupt people. It's like, why would you, first of all, why would you keep working? Why would you want that amount of money? And what's your plan? What's your end game? Are you trying to make the world a better place? You're gonna try to acquire more brown boxes with your logo on them. I mean, what are you doing? Like, where's it going? And it seems to me that there's a game, right? Everybody plays this game. Some people play it for $10 an hour. Some people play it for $10 billion a year. and that once you make $10 billion a year, you want infinite growth. You want 11 next year. I would like to tell my stockholders that we have cause to celebrate, and we have 20% increase in our bottom line this year, and everybody's looking good. Let's go to Tahiti, right? And then, like, what are you doing? You can't. This is not going to last. You're not going to live forever. Like, what is the end game? Well, there's no end game. You're caught up in the current game. In the current game, they are literally, capitalists are literally living in the moment. Because
you're right.
They're just stockpiling shit.
Yeah.
They're not thinking about the overall objective, sky down, looking from the heavens down on earth. Like, what the fuck are we doing? They're not thinking about that.
Nor are they accepting that limitless growth is literally impossible, that we have finite resources on a finite planet. And
maybe for you, not for me. I got a yacht. I got a fucking island. And I think it's also, you get caught up in the momentum of whatever you're doing. Whatever you're doing, you just get caught up in it. And if you're doing something and you're trying to get better at it, whether it's make better paintings or acquire more wealth, these are quests, and you try to get better at these quests. And that's a real issue with human beings. And I think it has evolutionary roots. I think it has roots in our need and desire to make better structures and shelters, to make better weapons, to make a better civilization so that we can stay alive longer, so that we can ensure that our children will be alive longer. I think there's roots in that are sort of bastardized and twisted in this world of ideas where you're talking about, like, money and stocks and bonds and mutual funds and hedge funds. Yes. And it's like, Jesus, like, it's almost like we have these ancient instincts for constant improvement that these human reward systems get corrupted.
My theory on this idea is that we have biochemical drives, as you have just described, that compel us to move forward and to survive. But we also have a culture that's continually stimulating fear and desire in order to cast us in a particular economic role, that of consumer. And the reason that I believe that this program and indeed this book are important is because it is a code to awakening, a code to becoming conscious. And once you are conscious, you aren't beholden to the same systems. So much of our behaviour is a result of what we don't know about ourselves. We are motivated, we're trying to fulfill ourselves because there is that biochemical imperative to get more, to survive, which as an addict I experience and have experienced in extreme. Sex till there's no more, getting out of my head till it's inconceivable that I could do that anymore without killing myself, wanting status and power and prestige. See, the reason that I think this system works outside of addiction as it's currently recognised is I've had to work it in all sorts of ways. Once I got rid of drugs, I got obsessed with sex. Once I get a handle on sex, I start being obsessed with what other people think of me, power, fame and money. And what I'm continually recognising is none of these things can be fulfilling if you're not connected to who you really are. That can give you a moment. Then you're free to pursue your art or your creation of structures in a conscious way. You're not doing it because you feel unconsciously a bit worthless or a bit crap or like it might fulfill you. It becomes pragmatic.
Do you also feel that, like, less concentrating on yourself and less being self-obsessed has allowed you to have more open communication with other people and more healthy, like back and forth, fulfilling communication with other people, which literally makes you happier? Whereas you thought that being obsessed with yourself and being obsessed with success and adulation or sex or whatever those other things were that you were obsessed with was going to fulfill those needs, and they weren't. But that community and bonding and I mean, that's a big part of jiu-jitsu as well, man. It's a big part of big part of jiu-jitsu. It's like we're a family. When you're in there choking each other, as weird as that sounds, like there's a bond between those people that are in those classes all over the world that are going to, they recognize this community in that, as well as like it being an extreme pursuit, and as well as it being something that is developing your human potential. You're also creating this really intense community of like-minded people. Comedians feel that.
Yes.
I definitely feel that with you. I feel that with most comedians that come in here. I know. Well, we are the same thing in a lot of ways.
Yes. I think that's very important, and in a way it's a return to what we were saying at the beginning of our conversation, that there are certain anthropological requirements wants, that you need to feel like you're part of a tribe. You need to feel connected to one another. And in my very limited pop in there once a week experiences of BJJ, when I've like done classes with other people instead of just the one-on-one with the instructor, because he looks after me, do you know what I mean? He's delicate because he's brilliant. But when it's with like other people that are a similar beginner level, there's moments of real intensity within it, but afterwards a sense of fraternity and love and closeness, and like some stuff that I'm not familiar with, not used to being close to men in that kind of way. And it's amazing and beautiful and probably very, very natural and important, and a side of my life that I didn't explore, because I did download the myth of our time, that you are an individual and you carve your own way in this world, and what's important is your power, your ability to affect change on others, your ability to sleep with women, the adulation of others. And as I've got older and having experienced a degree of it, I recognise, it's not real, it doesn't work. And simple things, connection and community, have become more and more valuable to me. But it's an ongoing thing, because as you said, the percentage is so close. When I got involved recently in a campaign, I got involved in a campaign to save our housing estate a couple of years back. Like, these women asked me to help, our estate's going to get turned into commercial flats, we're all getting evicted, we live here with our families. I backed their campaign, I got them on the TV. This corporate power backed down. And it was amazing, because like ordinary people, ordinary families beat, it was like the rebels beating the empire. It's like an amazing achievement of those people, but my ego liked it. I am the power, I am the power. Fed back into it, So like I see it as an ongoing thing, that my life now is, how can I convey ideas that I think will help people in a way that is accessible? How can I be useful? And knowing that my role in this is to make sure that I don't slip